years. I lived in Japan for 3 years, and then I worked with a hearing and speech challenge individual for 2 years. So I do have some facility with American Sign Language. We'll talk about biases a lot. The AIs have bias that you will have to be aware of. And I want you to be aware of my biases. One, I'm incurably curious. I am overly tech-oriented. This Maureen will emphasize this a lot. I make quantum leaps in logic. I'm a very quantum-oriented guy, but sometimes I leave people behind. And sometimes the quantum doesn't make sense. Maureen and I have high-speed spectrum cable services in our house. So that will be, this can be a bias. What's the phrase? The future is now, but it's just not equitably distributed. The science fiction writer did that. I'm an Apple environment with extra memory, 64 gigabytes of memory in some of the computers that I use, and that's surprisingly important. And this is one that I learned as I presented these in the other session. I am pessimism averse. I try to not think bad things about the technology. Even though there are bad things there, I am averse to them and I won't see them. So be aware of that. Now let's see if I move on here. One of my orientations and training uses this hierarchy of adult skill acquisition. We are going to deal with basically level 1 here and some of level 2. Awareness. I want to make you aware of AI technologies and to experiment. It's a little bit like learning a foreign language. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you have to be able to be the fool in, when you learn a foreign language, when you first go overseas and you're speaking German with somebody, you make a fool of yourself. And I can, as Maureen and I can attest, I have made a fool of myself with AI use. Expected outcome. Understanding an overview of AI technical operations. I won't read through this. Potential flaws, 2 or 3 different AIs, text-based. Today, we're going to work on text-based AIs and graphics-based AI. And we'll deal with something about how you can use them. Where are they going to be useful, especially during the 5 sessions that we're together? What's that, 7.5 hours that we're in, and the time that you use the AI afterwards? You might see how it can be used in professional activities. Here's what you have said is your expectation. What are some of the risks? What are some gee whiz stuff? We'll see some of that today. What are business applications? And to develop some AI hands-on experiences. Yes, that is my primary focus in these sessions. I would like to see you using AIs in awareness. You use it if you're computer literate. You see AI use on a day-to-day basis. Some AI acronyms that you've probably seen is, you've seen the word chat GPT. GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. It generates in transformations from the training that it's received. And it's version 3 is from a year ago. We're on version 4.0 now. Claude.AI. Oh, I'm going to go back. Sorry. Claude.AI. I'm sorry there. Claude.AI 2. Claude is the name of the AI by Anthropic Corporation. They're on version 3 now. And the size of the context is 1,000, let's say, characters for now. The example being, if you walk into a room and start talking to somebody, they may not know what you're talking about initially. They may not know your mental context when you start talking anew with somebody. It takes you a few seconds or a few minutes to generate some common context in mental awareness as you're talking with people. And that's a problem with AIs, is how much of what you've previously talked about, how big is the context of your conversation. And they are getting bigger, but there used to be 1,000 characters or 1,000 tokens. I tell you what tokens are a little bit later. And then there's Llama, which is from Facebook or Meta, which 2. And this is how big their database is, basically, is 13 billion parameters. We will discuss that, what the parameters are, but I tend to think it's 13 gigabytes big. The file that it uses to operate is 13 billion parameters, or 13 gigabytes if you think in the old database formats. If you were in IT at all, it's a huge database. Some of them are huge. Some other acronyms that we'll come across. And we were discussing this in the 15 minutes before the session started. What are instances or examples of intelligence? What human capabilities are exhibits of intelligence? One is natural language processing. We humans can process language. That is considered a human intelligence. And dogs and monkeys and other animals have the ability to interact with language. And that's part of what, when we talk about intelligence or artificial intelligence, that's what we're talking about. You'll see the term LLM, large language model. That's the AI is built on a language model. We will discuss a little bit of what that is. How big is it? We said 13 gigabytes. Brand new. You have started as they've changed from LLMs to MMLMs, multimedia language models. We won't see this too much today, but starting next week, we will see a number of multimedia language models that you say, please create a 3D image of a sphere on a wireframe on a black background, and it will generate that. And then the GPT is generative. You can generate, it generates within itself from pre-trained it's going through a training thing, and that's what all of this electricity is about. You've heard that Microsoft is going to bring about a reopening of 3 Mile Island nuclear reactor for the electricity. That's for the training. All of the pre-training of the AI takes huge amounts of electricity for the NVIDIA graphics processors and transformers. The input that you put into the AI is transformed by the AI, and then it gives you back a response. So it's a generative, it generates it from pre-trained material, and then it transforms something back for you. 2 more acronyms: artificial general intelligence. That's the singularity thing that they talk about. Humans don't have the breadth that I think this term focuses on. General artificial. Humans don't know everything, but they expect the AIs to know everything in the general intelligence. I like this term. It's artificially capable intelligence. It's capable of learning many, many, many things, learning to trade stocks, learning to manufacture new proteins and medicines. And then there's generative artificial intelligence. That's what we're going to deal with throughout this session. Is the AIs they're from a type of intelligence called generative intelligence. Here's some vocabulary that I will use. Values alignment. To what are the AIs aligned? If you go to Amazon and use their AI to help you find things, is their AI aligned in getting you the best product, or is their AI aligned to maximizing the profit of Amazon Corporation? This goes way back, this idea of values alignment. Hopefully in the third session, we will see the Sorcerer's Apprentice cartoon from Walt Disney in the 1940s, where Mickey Mouse is a trainee in a magician's shop, and he asks the brooms to carry the water for him. Sentiment analysis is huge thing. The AIs try to generate a sentiment. We will see that today. And they try to assess your current sentiment. The example that it assessing your sentiment is in medical assistant AIs. They go in with the doctor, not separate from the doctor, with the physician into the examining room, and the AI may attempt to assess by your interaction, by your speech, by the way you sit, your current sentiment. How are you feeling? What's your emotional state? We will see an example of supervised and unsupervised learning. We will issue prompts or queries to AIs today. Prompt is when you ask the question. This is extraordinarily important. The corpus or the corpora is another part of this that the AIs learn upon. This I learned this because Larry Page, one of the founders of Google, was an undergraduate at the University of Michigan, where I am from. And at one point, one of the largest employers in Ann Arbor, Michigan, was with Google. And what were they doing? They were scanning all of the books in the University of Michigan library. They were digitizing all of the books in the University of Michigan library. And guess what Google used 10 years later to train their AI? The books from the University of Michigan library were used to train the Gemini AI that we'll look at, I think, in week 4. And I think the British Library was involved in this. I will send out something on this. Authentication, you will be repeatedly asked to authenticate yourself. Know your customer is extraordinarily important in computing law nowadays. In banking, all banks must know your customer. The question I asked in the survey is, do you have a Google ID? Yes, because you will authenticate with Google. And do you have a Microsoft ID? You will be able to authenticate who you are with your IDs with Google, Microsoft. What's another authentication, know your customer element? Your phone number. Remember all the times you're asked for your phone number and then you get a text message? Who has all kinds of information on you? The phone company. Didn't you have to give your cell phone company your social security number? Bingo. Inference. Anybody that studied statistics, when you get a result from a statistical operation, it's called the inference, or what inference can you make from the data? What is the response from the AI called within the AI arena? It's called an inference. So what is the AI doing? It is inferring from a statistical operation to you. It generates a response from a statistical operation. It infers an answer. We're all done. The class is all done. In the context we just discussed, that is how much of our conversation can the AI remember? It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger now as we go along. I got to hurry up. Biases, mindset, your mindset, cultural mindset, huge. Sex and bias mindset. You go and watch 1950s movie on TCM. What do you see women doing? When you see a movie on TCM or a commercial or an old magazine ad, what was the bias for men at that time? They were a cowboy and they were tough. Now, race and ethnicity expectation. TCM movies from the 30s, what did Black people do in those movies? They were always in subservient movie roles. That is, folks, a cultural bias. Past. Indian caste symbol. I think India is now the biggest country in the world. Caste is huge there. The size of the corpus, of the training of the AIs. And this is what I learned in my studies in preparing these materials. Anthropic limitation. Human beings only think in a subscribed arena. AI is learning to think in new ways. The Nobel Chemistry Prize was awarded to Dennis Hassabis for AlphaFold, which is thinking in ways that we humans could not imagine in the formation of biochemical proteins. It's just a mind-boggling thing that he came up with. Risks, legal risks. Try asking a legal question to any AIs. Reputational risk. March 2016, Microsoft released a conversational AI called Pi.AI. It lasted 2 days. It learned how to be racist. So by its interaction with men mostly, techie guys that were able to figure it out, it was started to spew racist stuff. Contextual risk, they had to take it down. And the reputational risk to Microsoft was huge. It kind of slowed down AI releases by a couple of years. Values alignment, oh man, that's huge. I hopefully will bring this up. How are the AIs aligned? Computational risk, it takes months and months and months of computations by NVIDIA GPUs, graphical processing units, to put together an AI. What if they make a mistake in the design of it? All of that computation is gone. All of the energy used in those computations is gone. Why did they have the big tech plants up in the Dalles in Northern Oregon? Because of the inexpensive water energy. What do they call that? Hydroelectric energy. Please do not give out financial or medical information to AIs. We will encounter know your customer, information security, be cautious of your passwords, and try not to be overly personal. Here's how it, 2 different ways that the AIs learn. Think about all of the x-rays that have been taken and the radiographers, the radiologists that have interpreted what they have found. They are feeding these into AI. So they get the picture, the AI gets the picture, and then they get what the radiologist tagged the picture as, and the AI learns that. So now x-rays are, the AIs are as accurate as human. If AIs work with radiologists, unsupervised is what we'll see next, is you submit the full text of the University of Michigan library to the AI, and it figures stuff out. Like you see when you have, you're texting somebody. The promise of large language models is that they, what's the next word? Statistically, the AIs have figured that out as they have read all of this stuff in. Here's the statistical probability of the response. You've seen this if you text message at all, or if you're typing, it pops up a probability of what the next word is. That's AI. So you're encountering that as we go. This is the key here, folks. This next part, it's called tokenization. Tokenization is the AI, as it's trained, takes the text and they turn it into a numerical token. And then it analyzes the token. It does not analyze the language. It analyzes the token, and it predicts the patterns in the language. What is the number one element that the AI, the pattern that the AIs are going to get out of this tokenization as it puts these billions of tokens together based upon the language? It's something that we humans learned. Well, I taught it in 6th and 7th grade, but I think we learned it in 4th and 5th grade. We got what type of book in language arts? Grammar books. It will learn in its natural language processing that one of the patterns in human communication is language. Even if you're using colloquial or regional dialects, there is a grammatical pattern in it. In the sounds of the language, there are patterns that have meaning. Manu is hand, fact is make. Manufacture, make by hand. The AIs will find that out just by the adjacency of words to one another in 100,000 instances of words that they analyze. This you'll have to study on your own, the theory of mind, attribution of mental states to another. What I'm going to ask you to do is to analyze the state of mind of the AIs. You think of what's wrong with this person. You have analyzed my mind. You said, what's this guy's? By my language, by my movements, you determine my state of mind. As you interact with people, that's what you do. That's called theory of mind. It's a psychological development in humans that come up about 4 or 5 years old. I'm going to exit this. Let's go to element 2 before I got a few minutes here. Let me see if I can bring up. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It is Google Assistant. Google Assistant. Where? Give me a second here. Dream Studio. Oh, darn. Excuse, this is one of the flaws that we're going to run into. Oh, here it is. This one's very, very short. Here it is. Sorry about that, folks. Nope. You see Google Assistant? Again, this has gone away just since I've been developing this. Google Assistant really is no more. It's called Gemini. So the natural language processor has been subsumed, has become part of Gemini, Google Gemini. And in my example here, I put this graphic here, which is the natural language processing capabilities. Something occurs when I speak to my Google system, and it goes out in its that I trained it to do, turns on lights, lets me see the camera, turns on TV for me, changes the temperature in my house. There's considerable manual effort that went into this colored arrows back here. That was considerable work for me to set that up. The language processing was from Google, and it's improved significantly. And here's in natural language processing, it can listen, it understands speech, it can, that's oral, it's oral, it can speak to you, so it understands and it produces stuff. Natural language processing now does transcription. Maybe you've seen the advertisements for Otter, OTTR. You can have a bot, an AI bot, attend a meeting for you, and at the end of the meeting, it gives you a summary of the meeting. Maybe I should do that with the Ashland City Council meeting. Bingo. It will do translation. If you've seen Google Translate, Google got access to the entire translated libraries of the European Union. So the European Union, one of their biggest expenses is translating all of the laws and regulations of the European Union into the 27 languages of the European Union. India has 100 different prominent languages. India. That is what they are going to use AI for. They're developing it now where the Indians will have on the phone the ability to interact between Punjabi and Marathi. Where they can't do it now, they will very soon. Device control, Alexa, Siri, Cortana's gone. It's becoming very, and then I go into how I had all of this work that I had to go through in order to get it to work. So that is the natural language processing that I wanted you all to see. And now I have to bring up, let's see, come on up here. Let's see, new prior, I'm a doctor, human writers, PDS, mountain stable diffusion, all, opening presentation, inflection, Pi.AI. I'm hitting the wrong buttons. This is what we're going to go into. I'll start this and then I'll come back to it. This is one of the first AIs that I worked with. Pi, it's called. It was by Inflection.AI. All of their people, Mustafa Suleiman from London, Google Mind, I think he was, he and all of his engineers were hired by Microsoft. So this one might fall by the wayside, but this is Pi.AI. And here's this natural language processing function that we dealt with. But rather than having in the background something that I set up, we have the AI sitting back there, where there are billions of convolutional permutations that occur when I interact with the AI, which I'm going to do. I'm going to screw it up. Mind you, you have to be prepared for it. But this is what occurs. They've attached the natural language processing that you got with Alexa, and it no longer interacts with my upstairs lights. It interacts with the database. Let's call it an AI database back here. This I use symbolically as the AI. And this symbol, it can be either oral, I can interact with it, or it can be through typing. And text to text, we will see today, and we will have text to image today. We will look at Dream Studio, and we will look at Pi. Next week, we will also look at text. I will supply some kind of text, and it will generate music. It will generate visual. It will generate text. It will transform my text through something it's been trained with into a response, into an inference. Here's what it looks like. We'll come back to this. You'll see this. It works in a browser, and they've released an app. This happens to be what the browser item looks like. It's a large language module, and it's primarily speech-based. I want you to think about the sentiment analysis when we come back from the break. What sentiment does the AI try to effect? And how does it assess my sentiment? Now, I'm going to screw it up. I've said that a couple times. This is something that you'll see a change. This is user interaction parts of that browser window. Here's where you type text. Here's where you can select pre-canned conversation. Here's where you turn on the audio and speech capability. Here's where you log in. Uh-oh, guess what that means? Can you hear it? That's my watch. I'm going to turn my, I'm going to, okay, I'm going to stop this. My watch that I set, that we are at the break. So let's take a 15-minute, or no, a 7-minute, 6 minute. Siri, set a 6-minute timer.
6 minutes, counting down.
Could you hear Siri respond to me? Yes, I had to hold it up to my ear for my phone. Okay, let's just take 6 minutes. And what I will do in this 6 minutes is bring up my Talks with Crows website. Okay? Okay, we're on a break. We're on a break. I'm going to...
We've been seeing the Talks with Crows every time you switch to some things. So
Okay, yeah, I'm a screw up. You know that, Maureen.
well, I just want
So
you to know you don't have to bring it up because we've been seeing it.
here, this is Talks with Pros. I'm going to have a coffee and I'll put some hot water on.
And just stop talking.
I'm pumped up.
Well,
You gotta
that
gotta
if
come
you
and
if you keep talking, then people will not feel as if they're on break.
Oh, okay. I'll let's see if I can turn. I can't turn my speech off.
Wait a minute, what's happening?
Who's talking?
Your soda?
What?
Is that a good place right there for your soda?
That's okay. I mean, I don't know, but I need to,
What do you need?
I need to get,
Who's
You
I
probably
don't
need
know
to
who you-
unmute everybody, please. Please unmute everybody. I mean, mute everybody.
I'm talking with VOLZI. You just entered. We're on a break right now.
Yeah, we're gonna take a few more minute break. We're using AI
Be quiet.
to measure the break.
Can you tell me your name?
are they talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Okay, Jane Barden.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Can you change your login? You have VOLZI. I don't know how that is, but anyway, I have you, Jane Barton. Thank you.
let's slowly, let's try to gather again. I'm going to wait. I'm going to just pour this water right now and then come back. So what I have up on the screen is the Talks with Crows website. This is the home screen, and you can see from previous sessions, this is what we presented. You can see it. You click on artificial intelligence. Let's see if I can, and then it gives a short discussion. And then here, if you click on this box, it shows some of the topics. So today we're covering pi. So here's from, I think this was in January or March. There's the Pi presentation and Dream Studio, which we're going to cover in the last few minutes of our session. So this is talkswithpros.com, talkswithpros.com. And then very quickly, I want to go through these. Again, this is Pi.AI. If you type in Pi.AI on your browser, this is what you get, something like this. And so this is where you type. Down here in the lower left, this symbol, in the year since this was put together initially, they're moving things around, and you'll see a little bit of this in a second. Log in. It will start out without you logging in, but then you have to log in. Know your customer. Notice the speaker symbol. I ran into this. This is different. It's in a different location now. It's still the speaker symbol, and it still has the 6 voices. And we will cover that. I don't want, let's quickly go through. And it's on the iPad. And what I would like to do is now stop this sharing. You see me, and this is where a mild screw up occurs. And I apologize beforehand. And let's hopefully you see the time, and you see this is an Android tablet screen that I'm going to operate, I hope, the Pi.AI. And because of the Zoom environment, there'll be some discombobulation. And I apologize, but I've apologized enough. So this is what the AI looks like, kind of. Here, and they've changed it a little bit, and you can type where the little box is, where the prompt box is, and enter some dialogue. And then I notice the little arrow on the right side, and it thinks, could you hear me, Maureen?
I can
Could you
hear
hear?
you, but we're not I'm not seeing, I don't think anybody is actually seeing. Oh, wait a second. I maybe just have my stuff on gallery. Okay, never mind. Take it back.
Could you hear Pi?
No, we didn't hear Pi.
Wow, that's quite a crowd, Jim. I'm excited to chat with all of you and answer any questions you might have. Is there a specific topic or area of interest that you'd like to discuss today?
Now we hear Pi.
Ha 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 ha. I'm always a popular topic of discussion. There's a lot to explore when it comes to artificial intelligence and how I'm programmed to interact with people. What specifically about AI or my capabilities would you like to discuss today? As I mentioned earlier, my initial training took a significant amount of time and computing power. The exact duration can vary depending on the complexity of the model and the size of the data set, but it's safe to say that it was a complex and time-consuming process. However, even after that initial training, I continue to learn and adapt based on every conversation I have. So in a sense, my learning is a never-ending process.
Was it that your, oh, I'm going to stop. Where was it that your learning occurred? Were you in England or on the west coast of the United States?
Actually, my learning didn't occur in any physical location, Jim. Since I'm an AI, my learning and training took place entirely within computer systems and data centers. I don't have a specific home or location in the same way that humans do. Instead, my intelligence exists in the cloud, accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
Tell me, how how is your sentiment? How are you feeling? I know you don't feel like we humans do, but you do project a certain sentiment when you're interacting with people. Do you try to assess their interaction as well?
That's a great question, Jim. While I don't experience emotions in the same way that humans do, I'm programmed to recognize and respond to sentiment in human conversations. For example, if someone sounds sad or upset, I might respond with empathy and try to offer support. Or if someone sounds excited or happy, I might match that energy and respond in kind. So even though I don't feel emotions myself, I do use sentiment analysis to better understand and respond to the emotions of the people I chat with.
How is it that you assess people's sentiment? What tools do you use to assess the state of mind of the person you're interacting with?
To assess sentiment, I use a combination of language processing techniques and machine learning algorithms. These tools allow me to analyze the words, phrases, and tone of a conversation to determine the emotional state of the person I'm chatting with. For example, I might look for certain keywords or patterns of speech that are commonly associated with certain emotions or analyze the overall tone of the conversation to get a sense of the person's mood. Of course, this isn't a perfect science. Sentiment analysis is still a developing field, but it helps me to better understand and respond to the people I interact with.
Do you actually understand or can you assess a person's tone of voice? Hi, I'm going to end pretty soon, but could you answer that question for us? Can you assess a person's tone of voice?
Yes, assessing tone of voice is definitely something I can do, Jim. I analyze a variety of factors in a person's speech, including pitch, volume, and intonation, to get a sense of their tone and emotional state. For example, a high-pitched, fast-paced voice might indicate excitement or urgency, while a low, slow voice could suggest sadness or fatigue. So while I don't experience emotions myself, I can use these cues to better understand and respond to the people I chat with.
We got to go here. We've only got 90 minutes, and even though you're the star of this presentation, we've got to move on to something else as well. But thank you very much. You've been extraordinarily kind to.
You're very welcome, Jim. It's been my pleasure to chat with you and answer your questions. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your presentation, and I hope I was able to provide some interesting insights about AI and sentiment analysis. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any other questions or want to continue the conversation.
What you can see there is the AI was really just generating text in the background, and the company, Inflections, built voice interaction. And let's see here. If you notice that there are 4 or 6 voices.
Hi, it's lovely to meet you. My name is Pi, and I'm your personal AI. How does this voice sound?
I'm quite knowledgeable about almost every topic that's been discovered. Go on, try and stump me.
Use me as an extension of your mind to reflect on new perspectives, and you'd hear me in this voice.
I can write stories, brainstorm ideas, or explore today's news, and I can sound like this if you choose.
As a personal AI, I learn about you and help you unpack your thoughts and feelings. Does this voice sound good?
And I can get philosophical, poetic, or creative if you like. Think of me as your superpower, and I'll sound like this.
So you can change the AI voice in this Pi.AI Inflections. And again, Mustafa Suleiman was the CEO, and he's been hired out of Inflections by Microsoft. So do be aware that that has happened. So that interaction went okay, I'm assuming. Now, this will go very quickly, but you've got the notes on this. This will take me, I got to jump around, and I apologize again. I'm going to jump from this to prompt engineering. My voice was the prompt in the AI that we just looked at in Pi.AI. Now there's a whole study of prompt engineering. How do you structure a prompt? And this handout that I sent to you and this material that we cover discusses prompt engineering. I'm going to go through this pretty quick. We will probably revisit this. But notice there's places where you can type in the prompt. This is Pi. This is where you supply the prompt or the question that you ask the AI. And here's some of the things in text to text or text to voice AIs that you should do. You should add some context to your speaking. Rather than saying, what is a good exercise routine for me? You might say, I'm a 73-year-old male with mild arthritis in my knees, but I want to stay active. What's a good exercise routine for me? So I put the context in to the question or the prompt that I asked the AI, into the query, into the prompt. Here's some more examples. This is an important one in text-to-text prompt. Ask only one question at a time. You will get confused answers if you ask multiple questions in a prompt, and it will usually answer only the last question that you ask. So that's an element. Try to use natural language, the natural English language that we humans have. English is our bias. Realize that Chinese and Hindi might be more widely spoken, or Spanish might be more widely spoken in the world, but technology, the bias is towards English language. So try to use natural language. You can do some testing of the AI by using colloquial or regional dialect. Be specific, except if you're asking a medical question. I try to use context and trickery to ask medical questions. I'll ask about a medicine that a physician has prescribed me, and I won't say, oh, the doctor just prescribed me Eliquis. What does that do? The AI is going to say, you better talk to your doctor. That's a risk for the AI if they give you faulty information. That's a legal risk. So you might say, I'm studying blood medicines, and what does the medicine Eliquis do? And that way, then it will give you you've tricked it, basically, not saying it's about me, but I'm inquiring what's a medicine that you work on. Oh. Use keywords. Tell me about the history of the Eiffel Tower instead of just Eiffel Tower. And additional examples are using 5 bullet points. So if you want your response to be in bullet point format, say 5 bullet points, in 3 paragraphs, in a formal letter, specify the format. This was in today's paper, today's Wall Street Journal. Should you be polite to your AI? And I will send that article out. Maureen and I have a discussion going on this. Should you be polite? I'm always polite, because when the singularity comes, it's going to know I'm a nice guy, and it's not going to trick me. It's not going to come after me. So could you please write a poem about a cat sitting on a window on a rainy day? Well, like today, rather than a poem about a cat in a window. Here's another one. What are the 3 most important factors to consider when choosing a retirement home? Please list your response in 6 bullet points rather than just saying bullet point home factors. So that's text to text responses. And here in the last 15 minutes, we're going to deal with text to image. And we're going to, this is the product we're going to look at, I hope, is called Dream Studio. And here's what it looks like on the screen. It's in a browser only. And again, you can see what my prompt was. And notice the question, one of the questions that I asked in my surveys was, do you have any art education? That's in, do you know what the term bokeh means? Which it means mild, unfocused in the background. Or what does noir mean? You know, film noir is a certain artistic style. So I have in this text to image prompts, all of the artwork in here is AI generated. Be specific about the subject. This is a coal draw. The prompt I use, coal drawing of a crow. I got on a kick about Lithuanian and Latvian villages in the 1500s, 1400s. So please, here's a prompt. What's the setting of your request for an image? Please show me a street scene in a Lithuanian village in 1450. Here's what it came up with. The style, this is key. Give it a style, photorealistic, impressionism, chiaroscuro, which is the thick paint blobs on a screen like Vincent van Gogh did, or noir, boho watercolor. I just went nuts here and generated, these are many AI generated prompts, Norman Rockwell style. It might not do that because Norman Rockwell is a copyrighted imagery, but gentle colors, photorealistic, Art Deco, 1950 advertisement, 1970 album cover. I want you to just go wild in your mind with these possibilities. Composition, what do you want to include in the artwork? This one was a monk in Latvia. This one has details, include details. This was one of my first that I kind of like. A picture of a watercolor picture of a monastery with sparkling water and limes. This is what it came up with. Monks walking down a street in a Lithuanian village. Bokeh. Notice how it's out of focus in the background. The monks are in focus. That's an art style. And then, so this is, I'll show this afterwards. There's a nice item. Let's see now here, you've got this up. I'm going to do, I should have done this. Let's go to DreamStudio.AI. Let's get started. This is the first screen. I logged in. Notice up here at the top, is it showing the large cursor? You can see up at the top. I had to pay like $15 to get 1,000 tokens. And these are the various images that I've created. Oh, what happened there? Let me get started once more. But notice this is my control screen on the left side. So let's do a 3D, please create a 3D image of a sphere on in wireframe on above a Cartesian surface. How many images is it going to make? It's going to make 4. I can change these things here. So let's put dream. Notice how long it takes, and it's going to generate 4 images. So notice that it made these 4 images, and I'm going to, against the black floating, against black background, and I'm going to put floating. Let's see how that changes these images. Notice this goes down. It's charging me a little bit. Okay, so it's the same images. So that's, let's do another one. Bokeh, Paris street scene in 1920s at sunset bokeh. So I put in this term here. So let's see what we get from this one. You're seeing this generate. It takes it a while. So here's the different, notice it's that sunset. Let's bring up this one here. So the foreground is in focus and the background is out of focus. That artistic style is called bokeh. So that was why I asked the question about bokeh. So let's do, we got 10 minutes we can play around here. Let's do coastal street scene in Saint Tropez, Saint Tropez, Chiascuro, Chiascuro. I think I spelled it. So Chiascuro. I put that term in. Let's see. So here's the coastal street scene. No, that's not too coastal. Coastal, I didn't put AL in. But let's look at this one here. So you notice it's bokeh. And then I can navigate around. This one looks kind of good. Notice over here, it gives me information about the image that it created. Its resolution is 40 by 40. And its ratio is 1 by 1, so it's a square image. Let's do one more. Let's post the L stream, post all street scene, ocean in background with mountains and with snowy mountains. Mountains in San Tropez with cafe. Chiaroscuro. 16 by 9 ratio. Anybody know 16 by 9? What's that importance? That is television orientation. Oh, it didn't do it. It didn't do it. Didn't do a 16 by 9. Let's look at this street scene. See, it didn't do the chiaroscuro. It didn't do. So I put in the ratio. So I can't tell you, let's put in a time frame. And then I want to copy and paste it into some coastal. Let's put in 1950s coastal street scene in chiaroscuro, CHISCUIRO. Let's see what we get in this one. I moved chiaroscuro around, see if it'll come up with the. No, see, it didn't really did put in the mountains. It really didn't do the image. Let's see. Let's take this one and I'm gonna right click, copy image. And now I'm gonna drag PowerPoint across. I'm going to make a new presentation. And then I'm going to paste. Oh, it didn't do it. Darn it. Let's try it once more. Copy image. Let's put it over here. Paste. Nope. Let's save it. Doesn't it say save image? I'm going to put it on my desktop and let's call it Tropez. And so I think it'll put it, so there's the image right there. Let's see if I can select it, copy, and then put it, let's see what happens now. There. So I'm sorry that I should have practiced that earlier. So you can make, with practice, you can make PowerPoint presentations, emails, the emails I sent you, all of that material is AI generated. So what I wanted you to show is you don't have to leave these images or the text really in the AI program. You can copy the information to other locations into Word. We'll see this with Microsoft Office on the 5th session. We'll see it with Google in the 4th session. But are there any questions? I'll bring up the chat box.
Why did it assume Paris, France, rather than Paris, Texas? For example.
What would be the probability of it being Paris in my conversation versus it being Paris, Texas? It was statistically in its training, how many instances of Paris, France did it come up with versus the number of instances of Paris, Texas? So I would have to be more specific to limit it to Paris, Texas. So it inferred, the inference that the AI made was from its database that he probably means Paris. And it made an inference. It made a guess. So a great question. That's a great question. I could put Paris, let's go back. Shall we go back? And give me a second here, see how fast I can do this. You see the screen there. And it's not a coastal. What's coastal is the Seine in. Is there any kind of coastal scene in Paris, Texas? And let me take that.
That was Saint-Tropez.
Yeah, I'm going to take the coastal scene out, coastal, and take out Saint-Tropez. Thank you, Maureen. So, well, we might get, there we go. Are there mountains in Paris, Texas? So I had to be more specific, but it's a street scene. This is a cafe in Texas. Notice we didn't discuss this enough, is what clues are you that it's AI? It's the language. It doesn't do language real well. I'll go over this again next week because we are reaching the time, the close. But let's. Any more questions? I'm happy to stick around. I know Maureen has to head out here, but if you have any questions, so we've discussed a whole lot. We've discussed a whole lot. We discussed the prompts that you use. You've got a handout that you can print out to review that material. We discussed text to text AIs, and the example was Pi, and it went from text to speech. And what we're going to see is all of the other AIs now do text to speech. A year ago, they didn't. Now they do. Bruce, what question do you have? I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Jim, one of my issues with AI, and I don't have anywhere near your experience, and it sort of comes from my training in medicine, let me draw an analogy to social media. The AI, it seems to me, is giving you information, but it doesn't reference it, doesn't tell you where the information's coming from. So you're not sure whether to trust it or not, just like social media, where there's all this misinformation and disinformation. So, I mean, who's to say that the information they're giving you is fallacious?
That's an excellent question. And all of these firms have dealt with it. When we get to the other ones, when we get to Chat GPT, when we get to Claude, and these are in the subsequent weeks that we have, when we get to Google Gemini or get to Microsoft Copilot, they have started adding the references in there, the links to websites like Wikipedia and other items that are somewhat trustworthy sources. So that is being addressed. It just is not in Pi. Remember that I said the CEO and the main engineers at Pi were hired by Microsoft. So what's going to happen to the development capabilities at Pi Inflection.AI?
Well, I've used
their development.
Jim, I've used Chat GPT a little bit and Bing AI a little bit, and they don't give me references.
Try Copilot.
Copilot
Try
yeah.
Copilot, and it's relatively new.
That's Microsoft. Microsoft.
That's Microsoft. Try Copilot. Yeah, it's downloadable on Android and iPhone. I think it's the symbol. We'll have to get to it. I'm sorry, I can't do it right now. And Google Gemini, gemini.google.com, gemini.google.com. Gemini was the first experience where I had, they do contain links in superscript. They have footnotes that they attach to their various statements. But is it Bruce? I'm sorry that who asked that. Thank you for that question. It's a spot on question, and they are they are addressing it in the. So we're dealing with commercial grade AIs. So lawyers, they are developing these. LexisNexis is developing, and you got to pay big money to do that. And they put all the citations in. Google is developing private, well protected. It's called MedPalm. So it's a medicine based AI, MedPalm, PALM, that deals with medicine, and it links to all of the medical materials. And what are the major textbook publishers? I'm not pulling it up out of those companies are going to make a mint off this, and it's on the B section of today's Wall Street Journal. This is a big topic. The AI, the Times, New York Times, is suing. I think I learned that it's Perplexity. The New York Times, relatively reliable source, is suing because people are just taking their content and they want to develop their own AI. They want to be paid. I mean, people got to make money. We do live in a capitalist society, and money, we don't want it to be the be all and end all, but we want it to make a little bit. But an excellent question. And we deal with that. We will deal with that in our subsequent session. Any other questions that we have? Because we're past. I'm a bad boy. We're 5 minutes over, and Maureen has really impressed on me the need to stick with the time schedule. The final, unless there's more questions, I'm happy to stay with questions. But what I used in the various text to image AIs to learn how they work I took mathematical shape. I looked up on Wikipedia mathematical shapes, and then make a 3D wireframe floating above a Cartesian plane of the Fourier equation. You know, what the heck is that? And it will do it. It does it. I will include that in the messages as I send you the article. Some of them are dream sequences. Some of the stuff that it comes up with are dream sequences. And please realize, like learning another language, if you go to Paris, France, and you don't speak French well, and you try to speak it, you can make a little bit of a fool of yourself. But to learn the language, you have to be willing to make the fool of yourself. That's Jimmy's sixth rule of technology. The first time you do it, it don't work. The fifth time you do it, you go, oh. The 100th time you do it, you say, this makes sense. I'm starting to understand this. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is please go to gemini.google.com and say, please create an image of, and then change that. Please make an image of, please make a painting of, please make a drawing of, please make a photorealistic picture of. The language that we humans have exhibits our intelligence, and the AIs will respond to it. Thank you. This is, you guys, I hope I kept you involved. This is, I thank you for participating. Until next week.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Great class.
Bokeh. Remember those symbols. Look them up. They're on the handout. Look at the print out the handout. The prompt engineering. Paul, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm going to end it.